Hey, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out Algorand's price chart. And I'm not really sure in here if the bullish scenario is playing out, but don't worry about it. We are going to check every single possibility one by one and get into details and see what is truly happening. So, are you ready? Let's dive in and see what is going on. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about algo, we were right around this area, and the idea was that in here going long does not make sense at all, because if you want to go long, then okay, what's going to be your stop loss? Is it going to be under the lowest low down here about, let's say, 22 cents? Then okay, at that point you are having about a 3.5 cents stop. And what is going to be your target? Is it going to be, for example, somewhere around these highs, which is a decent bit of resistance area? Then okay, you're gonna have essentially about a 3.5 cents stop, but on the other hand, pretty much the same, a 3.5 cents target, meaning what? Your risk to reward ratio is almost 1 to 1, and trades like this do not really make a whole lot of sense. If you want odds to be on your side, you should actually open trades when, for example, your risk to reward ratio is, let's say, 1 to 2, 1 to 3 bare minimum, because at that point, if you do those kinds of trades long enough, on the margin, you are going to be able to make quite a good bit of money. So what happened? We actually got a move down in here, and we did expect a move down in Algorand, but if you remember, I said let's get a continuation of this phase up first, and then maybe from these areas we are going to have a move down. However, that, as you can see, definitely did not play it out. Now, here's the situation. In terms of Elios waves, can we still argue that in algo we are looking bullish? Well, the answer to that is really tough. Why? You see, I think we can all agree that starting from at least this point, we are having a wave 1, correction for 2, good move up into wave 3, correction for 4, another move into wave 5, and this can be, for example, yet another 5 wave on the upside. And let's actually say, for example, this is like a 1, 2, wave 3 to about this point, correction for 4 in form of a flat, and another move up into wave 5. And at that point, are we going to say that this is like 1, 2, and then I don't know, let's say 3, 4, 5? Well, okay, technically you are able to argue that. However, there's actually a slight problem with this thing. If you want to be optimistic, let's just hide everything. So, question for you, which one of these things is the lowest low? I think we can all agree that it's this one. But wait a minute, we just said that if you really want to push your luck, you have to argue that from maybe here we are having like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if from the lowest low to about this point, like we talked about in the previous video, we are having also a 5 wave, then okay, doesn't that mean that only we are having in here an ABC zigzag, generally a correction structure on the upside, meaning what? Our move on the downside in Algorand is not over? Well, unfortunately, yes, it probably means that. But you know what? Let's be a bit optimistic. And trust me, I'm doing this in the interest of being like 100% objective. Okay, it's very important to know that. And in the interest of that, I think we can say maybe this is like another ABC zigzag, and this is an ABC flat. So maybe from this point, we are having a WXY in form of a flat and a zigzag, and then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe something like this is going to be in play. However, even having this thing is like really questionable. Why is that? Well, I think we can all agree that if you want to say, for example, this is our wave 4, well, okay, the shape of it doesn't really match with our wave 2 right in here, since we are having quite a deep move down. And well, okay, Elliot's wave suggests whenever you are having a deep move down, instead your wave 4 has to take some time, and it definitely didn't do that in this phase. So you see, we really do have a lot of problems finding a complete 5 wave in Algorand starting from the lowest low if you want to be optimistic. So what should we say right now? I think we should now be a bit patient for 2 very important reasons. Number 1, like we said that in the previous video, we actually needed to see a continuation of the move up. And for example, specifically, I think I talked about having another move up, consolidation, another move up, consolidation, and another move on the upside, in order for me to be able to say that maybe in this phase we are having a series of 1-2s, and we didn't do that. So That's not really good. Reason number two actually comes down to this specific move down right in here. Why? Okay, simple reason. Let's just measure it timing wise. There we go. This move to about the lowest low took us around 103 candlesticks on 30-minute time frame. On the other hand, in about, as you can see, 103 candlesticks, we managed to have this move up starting from this low. So this means, in my view, that in here, bears are actually much powerful than this phase right in here. And this is like really not good. Why? Okay. You see, in terms of Elios waves, if you want to be optimistic and you want to argue that maybe around here we have hit our final low, then okay, you have to be able to find off of the lowest low in here, then a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave. Now, this specific structure is called an impulsive movement. Rules for it are, we should not have overlapping of the waves between wave 2 and 4, and in any kind of 5 wave, our wave 3 is simply not allowed to be the smallest wave. And in terms of the subwaves, you know the story, 5 wave up into wave 1, 3, and 5, okay. And for wave 2 and 4, we can have many different counts, doesn't really matter a whole lot. Let's say, yeah, okay, WXY into wave 4 and an ABC structure into wave 2. And here's the situation. One very important characteristic of an impulse is being quite strong, and between our pullbacks, you should again not be able to find overlapping of the waves. On the other hand, after we complete a 5 wave off of the lowest low, we're gonna have a correction down, and one very important characteristic of that is what you probably know it, being a slow and choppy. However, if I just go on the live chart, okay, now when you compare this move down to this phase on the upside, seems like that this thing is actually the slower phase, meaning what? You know, maybe in Algorand, this is indeed a correction structure. And from here, or like just a bit higher, we are going to continue our move on the downside. Now, in like very short time, I do think this move, this specific phase in Algo is going to continue a little bit. Why? Let's go on maybe 15-minute time frame. Okay, so what's happening in here in terms of Elios waves? I actually think that from here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably into a larger degree wave 3 right in here, correction for 4, another move down into wave 5. And what happens after a 5 wave down? You know it, a move on the upside, and maybe this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm actually thinking about the possibility of having an ABC zigzag, which the subwaves for it are going to look like this: 5 up into wave A and C. And for our B leg, we can have many different patterns. Let's say, I don't know, an ABC, doesn't really matter. Now, since in here we are only having a 5 wave, well, okay, from my POV, makes sense to argue that in the next 12 hours, maybe we're gonna get a pullback, but then a continuation of the move up. However, at that point, I need you to be careful, because this move might be overall a corrective movement in form of a zigzag, and especially if you see from here, or like just a bit higher, maybe even we're gonna get a move up in order to reach to about the lower end of this region around 25 cents. Nonetheless, if from these areas you see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a very strong move down without a lot of overlapping of the waves in order to take the low of our B leg, you know what, that is actually going to confirm that in Algorand, this phase is indeed the beginning of a new move on the downside. And then, well, odds of us hitting our final low all the way down here is going to be like really low, and there's like a good chance on a higher degree we're gonna have 1, 2, and what's next? A strong move down into wave 3, 4, 5, which only into our wave 3 we are most likely going to take the lowest low down here about, let's say, 23 cents area. So in Algorand, let's have a quick conclusion and wrap up today's update. I think this move up can continue a little bit more. However, I need you to pay full attention to the shape of that move, because honestly, the move itself is kind of predictable and also it's not really tradable. But the shape of it is really going to determine what is next. So far, based on what I'm seeing and the fact that we are having a strong move down relative to this whole phase on the upside, I shouldn't really be overwhelmingly optimistic. And that's why, my friends, I'm telling you right now, be careful, this may end up being just a simple ABC zigzag. And especially if after it you see a continuation of the move down, well, at that point you need to count on the bearish scenario a bit more, and the count suggesting, you know what, maybe this is an ABC zigzag and the final low is not in yet. Does that mean like at that point we should be overwhelmingly bearish? No, I really don't think so. In fact, let's just go on H4 time frame real quick. I don't know what is going on with my internet today. Excuse me. Let's actually put the chart on logarithmic. There we go. See, in my view, in Algorand, as long as we are not taking the lowest low all the way down here, about 15.5 cents, we should say this is 1, 2. This is also another 1 and a 2 on a higher degree though relative to this one, meaning what? Soon in Algorand, probably I'm going to say by the next couple of weeks, we are going to get a very, very strong move up into wave 3, 4, 5, and even that one is going to be into wave 3 correction 4, another move into wave 5. Basically, we are going to get like a good price explosion. So overall, not to worry. I think we are looking very much optimistic, but you know, in the short term, maybe not so much. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Algo. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.